Hello and welcome back to our third episode of season 3?
Season 2.
Season 2. Whoops. Because we have the forgotten tapes that we recorded a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever live those down.
But today we have a bit of a 2-for-1 special. If you listen to the last episode, you'll know that we're talking about Memories of Murder today. But before we get into that, we had some Oscar nominations come out.
That's
and
right.
We'll just, I guess we'll just go over them.
Power through
I don't know
real
how many
quick.
of these movies have you seen.
Looking at it from just like the top 3 categories on the Oscar website, the actor in a leading role, supporting role, and actress in a leading role, it looks like just The Power of the Dog. So, should be interesting.
Perfect. All right, so we can just go, I guess it's alphabetical order.
All right.
We got actor. If you've watched the show before, you listened to it, you know that we did a Oscar episode. We did an Oscar preview and like an Oscar one, like back to back. But I think that we won't go that in depth into it today. But first we got actor in a leading role. We have Javier Bardem and Being the Ricardos. Haven't seen it, won't talk on it.
Same.
We have Benedict Cumberbatch, Power of the Dog. Saw it. He was good.
Probably a win. Maybe.
We got Andrew Garfield and Tick Tick Boom. Dark Horse right there. I thought that was a really good movie.
Haven't seen it.
Will Smith and King Richard. Haven't seen it. Can't talk on it. And then Denzel Washington and the Tragedy of Macbeth. Haven't seen it. But it's on Apple TV, so I think I'll watch it. Can't really talk on that. I've only seen 2 of the movies. Then we move on to actor in a supporting role. What is it? Kieran Hines in Belfast. I'm going to see that tomorrow. So next episode, I will update everybody on, first off, who that was. I don't know who he is.
Couldn't tell you.
Same
with the next guy.
Troy Kotsur.
Sounds good to me.
Coda on Apple TV. And then we got Jesse Plemons in Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, and our boy Cody Smith-McPhee.
Is he the angry hula hooper?
Yeah.
I hope he wins. Actor in supporting role.
That was a bit. I didn't expect him to get nominated because we kind of, in our lost episode, we kind of said like, oh, he was serviceable. But good for him.
I mean, I think I would choose him over Jesse Plemons. If he
plays,
like
Jesse Plemons really wasn't in the movie.
That's much. What I mean. Yeah, he wasn't really. Didn't have much screen time, and when he was on screen, he was just as serviceable as Cody Smith-McPhee. But I don't know. I think Cody Smith-McPhee played a more pivotal role in that film, so I would choose him over old Plemons.
All right, moving on to actress in a leading role. We got Jessica Chastain in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Haven't seen it.
Can't talk
we got
about
Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter. It seems like Olivia Colman's literally nominated every year for something. Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers. Haven't seen it. Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos. Haven't seen it. And then Kristen Stewart in Spencer.
Haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it. So I haven't seen a single one of those.
Nice.
I've been horrible on movies this year.
I have as well. I'll read off actress in a supporting role. We've got Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter. Haven't seen it.
Nope.
Ariana DeBose in West Side Story. Haven't seen it.
I refused to watch that movie.
I knew that was coming. Dame Judi Dench in Belfast. Haven't seen it. Kirsten Dunst in The Power of the Dog. Seen it. Thought she was really good in it. That's all there is to say. And then a name I'm going to butcher, so apologies to Onjanue, probably Ellis in King Richard. Works for me.
We can animated feature, Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machine, and Raya and the Last Dragon. Saw Encanto, it was okay. Saw Luca, it was okay. We did an episode on Luca last June.
Almost a year ago.
I haven't seen the others. I bet Encanto will win, probably.
I've heard The Mitchells vs. the Machines is a really good film. I've heard it's very heartfelt, but out of all these, that'd probably be the one I watched first because I've seen none of these films, which is sad because I'm supposed to be the animation guy.
You haven't seen Encanto?
No, I have no reason why I haven't. I just haven't.
That it took over the world for a little bit.
Yeah, it's that one song is still popping on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Cinematography: Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. I
Dune will
think
probably
it'll
win.
go to The Power of the. I mean, The Tragedy of Macbeth or Dune. I haven't seen Nightmare Alley, but it's on Hulu now.
Costume design, we've got Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. Dune will win.
I think West Side Story will win.
Think so?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything about it, so I'm just going off the only one I've seen that looks cool, and that was Dune. Cruella was a decent movie,
I haven't
sorta.
seen it.
Wasn't that great, but
We
it
got
was alright.
we got Belfast for directing. We got Belfast, Drive My Car, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Uh, I'm gonna say The Power of the Dog probably won't win because only 2 women have ever won Best Director.
It's time.
Um,
You need to put another
one.
crack in that glass ceiling, ladies.
Uh, Chloe Chow won it last year, so
Did she
or
direct
Nomadland.
Nomadland, yeah.
I think it's either gonna be Belfast or Drive My Car, or maybe even Licorice Pizza, because
Could be one of
PTA
the
hasn't
five.
won. Yeah, PTA hasn't won an Oscar yet, so
For documentary feature, we have
we can skip
Ascension,
these. We can
Attica
skip.
Flea, Summer of Soul, and I'm fucking running through it. Fighting with Fire. Same with documentary of a short subject, Audible, Leave Me Home, The Queen of Basketball, 3 songs for Benazir, and When We Were Bullies. Who cares? Film editing,
Hey,
we
there's
have.
plenty of people that documentaries.
I know Nicholas, I think, rocks with documentaries.
I don't dislike documentaries. I'm surprised The Rescue didn't get nominated for one. That was enthralling.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen it. Film editing, Don't Look Up, Dune, King
That's a joke.
Richard.
That is a joke.
Which one? Don't
Have
Look
you
Up?
seen Don't Look Up?
Yep. Power of the
That
Dog and
editing
Tick
is
Tick Boom.
horrific.
That's because like 85% of their budget went to the stars, from what I've read.
I like either Tick Tick Boom or The Power of the Dog for this one.
Yeah, I could see either of those. I've only seen one of
International
those.
film: Drive My Car, Flee, The Hand of God. Don't even know how to say that one.
Lunana, a yak in the
Lunana
classroom.
from, and then The Worst Person in the World.
I hope a yak in
I've
the
heard a,
classroom wins.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about Drive My Car.
I haven't
And
heard
then
anything about it.
Flea is like the first to be nominated for Best International Feature, Best Documentary, and Best Animated Film.
You ever seen the show when we were kids? What is it? I think it was Mucha Lucha. It was an animated show about these kids that went to like a luchador school. Uh,
Yeah,
every time I see Flea, I think of the character from that show called the Flea, and I'm sure there's not anything remotely close to that. But I just wanted to put that out there in case anyone was wondering.
put it on record.
Put it on record. That's all that
Makeup
comes
and
to mind.
hairstyling, Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. I say House of Gucci wins
Works for me.
or Dune. Music, Don't Look Up, original score. Dune,
Ah,
Encanto, Parallel Mothers, Power of the Dog. Dune's got that one.
yeah. Hans Zimmer is a titan. Music
Uh,
original song. We have "Be Alive" from King Richard, "Dos Oruguitas" from Encanto, "Down to Joy" from Belfast, "No Time to Die" from, get this, No Time to Die, and "Somehow You Do" from Four Good Days.
I
I've
say,
never heard any of these songs. I bet No Time to Die wins because Billie Eilish is an industry plant and she'll win it.
all right. So our best picture nominations are Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. There's a lot this year.
Reiki.
Um, so I've seen Power of the Dog, Licorice Pizza, Dune, Don't Look Up. Going to see Belfast tomorrow. I will give you my prediction when I see as many of these as I can.
I'll give my prediction because I've only seen The Power of the Dog and Don't Look Up.
You haven't seen Dune?
No, the only time I was able to watch it was on my phone on HBO Max, and I was not about to watch that on an iPhone. So I think that without any real knowledge of anything, I think Dune is gonna win, and I think nope, that's it. I don't have any other thoughts. Dune's gonna win. That's my guess. That or Belfast, just because it sounds cool. Never seen it.
I've heard a lot of buzz about Belfast. I'm seeing it tomorrow, so
Well,
you never know.
you might back
I
me
think
up or
Licorice
not.
Pizza could win. Um,
Don't Look Up won't win. That's the only important thing.
Production design, Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, Tragedy Macbeth, West Side Story. It'll either be Dune or West Side Story, probably.
Works for me.
We can
Animated
skip short
short
film.
films,
Skip short
short film
film.
live action. Nobody cares about those unless you do.
Sound.
Sorry.
So the fact that because sound got used to be sound mixing and sound editing pushed into one. We got Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, Power of the Dog, West Story. It'll go to Dune. Visual
Visual
effects,
effects
Dune.
will also go to Dune. Who cares about the rest?
Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man. Probably Dune.
Yep. Writing
Writing.
for an adapted screenplay, there's Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and The Power of the Dog. I'm betting it goes to Drive My Car, even though I haven't seen it.
Writing. Original screenplay. Belfast, Don't Look Like King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Worst Person in the World. I'm gonna say Licorice Pizza
Works for me. And
because Don't
that
Look Up was actually ass.
it was something. It was a film. I enjoyed it when I turned the brain off, but when I thought about it afterwards, it was not as good as I remembered.
And that's the
Anyway,
last one.
that's the
So
Oscars wrap up in
Oscars
12
are
minutes or
in
less.
March 27th. The 94th Academy Awards.
All right, are we ready to get into Memories of Murder?
Yes.
All right, since this is potentially your favorite film of all time, I would like for you to intro it, if that is all right.
Okay. Okay, so first off, let's talk a little bit about Korean cinema.
Let's do it.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. So in the last 25, 20 years, Korean cinema has basically taken over the mantle of like Asian art cinema and like festival cinema from Japan.
Mhm.
Because like obviously everyone knows Parasite. I feel like everyone's seen Parasite. Have you seen Parasite?
Yep.
And then like there's other films like we talked about on the podcast, Burning, which is crazy. The Whaling's like a good horror movie, and then like Secret Sunset from 2007, and then like even like the horror cinema coming out of Korea is like probably the best in Asia.
Is
Actually, it's like
was
J horror is kind of like run its course, I think, but they're trying to make a comeback. Like you had like Ringu and I can't remember what The Grudge originally was called.
is Train to Busan a Korean film?
Yeah, Train to Busan and Peninsula, it's just like the sequel.
Mm.
The Host, which is a Bong Joon-Ho. It's kind of a horror movie. I won't spoil anything because it's actually a pretty decent movie. The Wailing, which is and then I Saw the Devil are all pretty successful like internationally.
I've heard of some of those films.
Yeah. So this movie was released in 2003. It was directed by Bong Joon-ho, who everyone knows from his Best Director and Best Picture winning Parasite from 2019, I think. So for some fun facts, while Parasite was doing his Oscar like campaign,
Mm.
it was sort of overshadowed by this movie because that's when the Korean like police finally caught the real life murderer. And his name was Lee Chung-jae. And well, I'll talk about more about him later. But released in 2003. So it was way before they'd found the murderer. And it stars. I'm gonna butcher some of these names. Do you want to take the names? Are you better at pronunciation?
Maybe we'll find out. You want me to? Yeah, I'll take it. Why not? Sure. I have nothing to lose.
You're gonna
Kang
get
Ho's.
canceled.
Well, I'm doing my best. I'll just give a disclaimer, and that'll take away everything. This is me doing my best. I am sure I'll mispronounce some of these names, and for that I am sorry. I was raised in a small, predominantly Caucasian area in the southeastern United States, and I had not been exposed to anything international till after I turned 18. So I'm very, very, very sheltered. So sorry There's your disclaimer. Anyway, uh, we have Kang Ho Sung as Detective Park Do Man, Kim Sang Kyung as Detective Seo Tae Yoon, Ro Ha Kim as Detective Cho Young Koo, Jae Ho Sung as the Sergeant Shin Dong Chul, Byun Hee Bong as Sergeant Koo Hee Bong, Seo Hee Ko as Officer Kwan Kui Ok, Tae Ho Ryu as Jo Byung Soon, No Shik Park as Baek Gwang Ho, Park Hae Il as Park Hyun Gil, and Mi Seon Jeon as Kwok Seo Young. I think that's pretty much everybody that's of note in this
Yeah.
film.
There's some. If you haven't seen this movie, why are you listening? But continue to listen. But we will spoil the movie. But
So
there's not much.
maybe pause, go watch the
Maybe
film, and
pause
come
it.
back.
Go watch it. I
Here's
know
your
everyone
spoiler
here has
alert.
Hulu. It's on Hulu.
If you want to
All
pirate it, or if you
of
want to just look up Memories of Murder online free on Google, I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm sure you could do that.
all of Bong Joon-ho's Korean films are on Hulu, and I think Snowpiercer and Okja are on Netflix. I know Okja is because it's a Netflix original.
Yeah, Octus.
But so I have the Criterion Collection DVD.
All
So
right.
I watched some like interviews with Bong Joon-ho, and obviously this is based on a real life case, and it was, I think the guy murdered 10 people and then raped another 32 women. And before the film, he ever wrote the script, Bong Joon spent like 6 or 7 months with his team researching the murderers, going to different police departments, looking at these records that usually like the public didn't know about, interviewing journalists and interviewing like some of the rape victims to help like get a better like and more accurate picture of who eventually was Lee Chung Jae. And this is all before he ever wrote a single line of the script. Um, and Bong Joon-ho got super like invested in this case, and there were times when he thought that if he kept working on like figuring out the details of the case, that he probably could have solved it. But obviously, he's probably not equipped to do that. And then some interesting stuff about like the filming of the movie. Bong Joon-ho was like too emotionally charged to shoot the final murder of the little girl. So he got like super drunk and like directed that I guess like it's only like a 2 minute scene of her. I guess I think it was like the finding of her body and like the scene of the murder.
He was.
And he was like blackout.
That's
Which is
if
pretty
it was
interesting
like
to me.
if it was like under a different circumstance, if it wasn't something so like sensitive and terrible, I would probably say something along the lines of like that's awesome. But seeing as how tough that must have been to film, it's just kind of sad, I guess.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, so what is this movie even about? It follows, I can't remember what town they're in, but it's the
I couldn't
small
tell you.
rural village where the first ever serial killer documented in South Korea was actively killing, and Detective Park is basically an incompetent detective that beat confessions out of innocent people so they can solve crimes, and they're trying to find the serial killer who's a pro, and they're incompetent and they've framed two different men. But then Detective Cho was the guy from Seoul, right?
No,
Or was it
Cho is
Seo?
it's Seo.
Yeah. Okay, so Detective Seo is from I guess he volunteers to come
Mm.
and like put his like more professional eyes on the case, but even he can't really crack it. And then they find Park, who's a factory worker, and they are dead set that he is the killer, and they monitor him 24/7. And the film guides you to believe that he is the killer, but turns out he's not, because it was Lee Chong-jae. And there's a part in the documentary where Bong was, because the film ends with Park having quit the police force, and now he sells juicers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he is set on the road selling them, and he just happens to drive by the same location as the first murder body found, and he goes over there. He looks under the drain where the body was found, and there's nothing there. And then a schoolgirl asks him, what are you doing? And he says, just remembering. And then she said, oh, another guy came here saying he did something here a while ago, and he was remembering. And then Park asked the little girl what he looked like, and she said, just ordinary. Which kind of confirms that it wasn't Park in a way. Because Park was they always talk about how he looked so distinctive.
Mm-hmm.
But Bong Joon-ho was relieved. I don't know if relieve's the right word.
You mean Detective Park? Or do you mean Detective Park was relieved, or Bong Joon?
No, Bong Joon-ho was relieved that the real life murderer looked nothing like Park.
Oh yeah, that would have been rough.
Because he was because they showed a picture of him, and he says there's nothing ordinary about the face of a killer. But if you just looked at him and didn't know, you would call him ordinary. So he was like, the film still works because he wasn't profound looking. So the film really I hadn't seen the films since they caught the killer, because when I watched this film for the first time in one of my classes when we were talking about Korean cinema, and we started the lesson off on the fact that the killer had been found. So I think you go into the film. Did you know that they had found the killer before you watched it?
No. So I don't know if I said this on air, but I watched this in 2 sittings, and the first half I did not know, and then I was not spoiling, but just looking up some stuff about the film, just general stuff, and just trying to remember some character names, and I saw an article that they had found the killer. So I had a bit of an interesting perspective, watching the first half. Just thinking this, I didn't even know it was based on a true story until, I read that they found the killer. Yeah, once I read that they found the killer, I was like, oh, this is a true story, and then I had a pretty decent shift in perspective watching the second half.
Mm-hmm. So I think I can never do this, but it would be very interesting to have watched this film knowing that it was basically still an active investigation. And the real life killer, Lee Chong-jae, or I don't know how to say his last name, but he has admitted to watching the film in theaters, and that he felt nothing when watching it. And then I know we texted about it, and you said something along the lines of you were almost rooting for Park at the end of the film, or you didn't think that he was the killer.
No, I was rooting for Detective Park, is what I was saying. I wanted Detective Park to. I was saying more along the lines of I wanted Detective Park to solve the case or to find the killer, even though the film really paints him in this light of being this incompetent, almost not power hungry, but really abuses his power. This detective that doesn't understand really how to be a detective, and he just kind of mimics what he's seen on American television, and he is very over the top, and he does a lot of. I mean, he beats the crap out of a mentally disabled man in this film, and for some reason they still portray him in a way where I kind of really wanted him to succeed, even though there's really no reason you should want for him to. I mean, I know it's at the end of the day he's still trying to catch a murderer, but his methods are just so terrible. I'd almost rather him be taken off the force.
Yeah.
But
at the beginning of the film, he says he can stare at someone's eyes and know if they've committed a crime. And then I guess the unnamed like cop that's next to him says, like, that guy over there, one's a rapist and one's his brother. Tell me which one it is. And then we just get a cut
Mm-hmm.
implying that he probably got it wrong. And then he constantly says he can tell by looking at his eyes. And then at the very end of the movie, when Seo is about to kill Park, I guess we'll call it Detective Park
Yeah.
is the detective, and then the main suspect's also name is Park.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about Detective Park, let's make sure we say detective.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So Detective Seo is about to kill Park, and then Detective Park grabs Park. It says, he's like, look me in the eyes, tell me if you're the killer. And he's like, I think he says like, fuck, I can't tell.
Yeah, I think so.
But Park, and it's funny because Park's real name is also Park.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he asked Bong Joon-ho if he could play Park as though he believed he was innocent. And then Bong Joon-ho was like, of course you can, but I want, like, you need to know that like 99.9% of people that watch this movie are going to be 100% convinced that you were the killer at the end. Even though there's really no evidence that
Yeah, I
he
was about to
is,
say.
besides the fact that he has soft hands and he
And
works at the factory
he
where,
requests
like,
that.
right next to the, yeah, and he requests the song,
Mm-hmm.
which you can't do that. And I'm pretty sure that during one of the murders in like the reed field, if you pause the movie, you can see that it is him, like the actor
Mm-hmm.
that like jumps in front of her and grabs her, implying that it is him. But I would have to like slow it down and look. But it did look a lot like Park.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't even get a good enough. I didn't pause it or slow it down. I didn't even really get a good enough. I didn't get a good enough look at his face. I mean, he's probably on screen for maybe 10 frames before
Mm-hmm.
you don't see him anymore. So I didn't even get a chance to really study his face,
Oh,
or the killer's face, I should
also,
say.
I'm gonna plug our Twitter right now
Go
because
for it.
if you go to our Twitter page and look at our, I guess it's like the header photo behind like the profile picture, it is a wide shot of Memories of Murder. Did you even know that?
I'm actually no.
It's
Let me see.
when
Oh, I
Detective
see. Yeah.
Theo is like walking into town and he walks by the doll. Um, but all right, I want to talk about the bookends because this is, I feel like not many films. I guess this film was almost 20 years old, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, this is like a textbook bookends because you have Detective Park at the beginning of the film. I think it's hilarious when he's riding that tractor
Mm-hmm.
and all the kids are chasing him. He's literally on the back of a tractor that he could probably run faster than at the beginning of the film to get out to this like the reed field where this girl's body is. And the film is all like colorful and it's vibrant and like the yellows of the reeds are really popping. But then as soon as like he sees the murderer and the next scene it gets super dark. And did you notice that? Like how the colors intentionally like diluted? Because you go to any frame of this movie, you'll look at it and be like, the only colors I really see are gray, blue, and like dark green.
I'm gonna say yes to sound smart, but no. No, I didn't.
And
I didn't really
then
notice that.
because like it's not a pretty movie at all to look at.
No,
And
no.
then when after the climax where they let Park go, he you get the cut to him like what 5 years later? No, like 20
It's
years
yeah. It's
later,
20 years later.
and everything's back in its normal contrast. And when he goes out to the reed field again, it's all bright. And it's basically like a bookend of like the start and the close of the murders. But speaking of the last shot, um, you get something that you really never get in films, where you have the actor really looking directly into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another part of the film where it's different now that they've caught the killer, because Bong Joon-ho intentionally told Kang Ho-son to look directly into the camera, because it was Bong Joon-ho's way of addressing the killer on a one-on-one level, where he meant to put it as like, we're watching you and we are going to catch you. It's like, he's like, you're a serial killer, and I know serial killers, like, they like to gloat. I think that's like a property of serial killers. Is like they like to like
They're
they think that they're smarter than everybody.
yeah, they're
So
narcissistic.
he knew that the killer, which happened to be Lee Chong Jae, would go see the movie,
Mm.
and then it was his way of being like, we're gonna find you.
That's. I wish I wasn't so cynical, because only knowing because like knowing now that they caught the killer and they asked him about it and he said he felt nothing towards it. It's doesn't hit the same, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like that is
Um.
interesting, and that is like I think a very powerful moment. But knowing what we know now,
And
it just I think it almost takes a little bit away from it.
yeah. So at one point in the film, they try to pin the murders on this mentally handicapped guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in real life, they actually did pin one of the 10 murders. They pinned the eighth murder on him because he confessed to it. And then he only got out of jail because the real killer finally confessed that he was actually the one that did it.
I'm wondering if it was a similar situation in this film where the
He
mentally
watched it.
handicapped where he watched it, or if it was something just along the lines of what Detective Park would would do, where he just kind of feeds him the lines and gets a forced confession.
Mm-hmm.
Because this film
I
is
think it was
very
a false. They made him have a false confession.
yeah, this film was
Because
very
if you deprive
anti-police.
anybody of like food and water,
Mm.
and hang them upside down for, or hang them by their hands for long enough, they're gonna
They'll
like
confess
confess
to
to
anything just to
anything.
get out of it. Yeah.
Um, then you have the ending of Data Never Lies Man, Detective Seo, who always repeats that we'll find the killer in the data, and then when they finally get the DNA samples back, it's inconclusive, and then of course the data's lied. And you have the good cop gone bad and the bad cop gone good. A nice trope. What'd you think of the peaches that were inserted into the woman?
If I didn't know that that was like pretty reminiscent of the real crimes, if that didn't was basically exactly what happened, I would be a little confused. It was
Yeah, because I watched it and I was like, okay, this is the one thing that I don't understand, like the
yeah,
meaning of. And then I watched the documentary, and then Bob Joon-ho was like, "Oh yeah, we included stuff that he would actually do," and I was like, okay, that just makes it even more fucked up.
yeah. That and like
And I don't think the killer ever told anybody why he does it. He did that for that one woman. He only did it once.
maybe he was just eating peaches, spotted a lady by herself. That is my opportunity to strike, and then I don't know, got creative. I don't know. I don't want to dive into the psychology of a a madman,
We're
a serial
being
killer.
if you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about, but we don't have to really get in too deep into what.
Uh,
But because I was like, okay, there's a thread from Peaches from this to Parasite, and I was like, well, what is it? What does it mean? But then I was like, oh, it doesn't really mean anything. And then because Abigail, when we watched it together, she didn't like it as much as me, and it kind of made me sad.
it's
Um,
it's
but
definitely
she was a little confused at the points when they had like the riots, and they were talking about like the political unrest,
mhm.
which Bong Joon-ho loves to put in different like social commentary over his films. Like Parasite's obviously about the wealth inequality in Seoul, and then like same thing about the host is all about wealth inequality, and but this one is a lot like the
Anti-police.
president is gonna, yeah, like the anti-police, and like you have like the president of South Korea coming through this town,
Oh,
and
I
he
like.
has no idea that there's this raging like maniac that's basically destroying this town. And then I'm pretty sure there was some other stuff about like the president wasn't that popular during the time of the crimes,
I'm thinking
and like
specifically
there
of.
was escalating tensions between North Korea,
There's
and
the.
that just all culminated.
Do you remember the scene where the president rides through and then they cut to like riots?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was even like I don't know anything about that. Contrary to last episode where Zach had asked me if I was a history guy, I'm actually not much of a history guy, and I didn't know much about the you know history of anything Korean War related or just the Korean history, I guess. But even I was able to kind of parse the message of anti government and anti police at the time
Mm-hmm.
from that one scene alone where the
Yeah.
people are excited the president's coming through and then it cuts to people rioting in the streets and getting pretty much abused by the police force.
Yeah. Um, like a lot of South Korean cinema reflects like North Korean anxieties,
I could see that.
especially like the host. Like you could argue that the monster and the host represents North Korea and the threat that they present to the more Western lifestyle that many South Koreans in Seoul live. And you get the scene at the very end where there's a bunch of like chemicals being dropped on people. But we could talk about that maybe another day.
I was say I haven't seen it yet, so
Um, what would you rate the film? I'm
hmm.
pretty much done talking about it. I don't want to talk about it too much because I like the movie so much that I want people to watch it.
Without getting super spoiled.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give
I'm gonna give it.
a serious rating and a wacky rating because that's how I like to carry myself. If I were to seriously rate this film, I'd probably to give it a really really accurate rating. I'd probably need to sit it down and watch it in one setting so I could really focus on it. But from the kind of disjointed watching that I had with it, I'd probably give it like a 7.2. I think it was. I enjoyed it. I think like the almost 24-hour gap kind of left me forgetting some things and just not appreciating it as much as I would have. Now for the wacky rating, I believe there
Peaches.
were no, I believe there were 10 or 11 drop kicks just sprinkled throughout this film, just the police running and drop kicking people. So I'll give it 9 out of 11 drop kicks. I think 9 hit and 2 of them kind of fell flat. So that's my wacky rating.
You like the irony of him having to get his kicking foot amputated?
Yeah, I did. I thought that was really good. Doesn't have to put on
Yeah.
that little shower cap on his shoe anymore.
Not scuff his shoes up. The real life case is pretty interesting. The movie is interesting. I think it still works pretty well in the context of the real life murders.
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't think it would have worked as well if like the real life like Bong Joon-ho was like talking about, if the real life murder was like this buff dude that was like out of the ordinary.
Yeah, a little more, especially it would definitely it would be a little English chase. Lord, yeah, it would have. Sorry, I was looking for the next for my letterboxed. What would be the next film? Uh, yeah, I think if they had if the I'm sorry, my brain just shut down. I think I just had a bit of an aneurysm. I don't even know what I was gonna say. I lost it. Sorry, audience, if that was something you were really, really waiting on bated breath to hear me give my final thought. It's gone.
But I have this movie rated as an 8.7.
Okay.
It's on my top 4 on Letterboxd if you look it up. But I guess I'm the only one. I guess I'm on an island. Hey, people just can't
Is this
stand
your
true art.
would this be your desert island film?
No.
No.
It'd have to be
Forrest Gump.
fuck no. The movie sucks ass.
My
I
entire
hate that
family,
movie.
my entire family would have a stroke if they heard you say that.
That and Shawshank Redemption are the two most overrated movies of all time.
I can get with you on Shawshank and sort of get with you on Forrest Gump, but I really enjoy Forrest Gump.
Was that Robert Zemeckis? Pretty sure it was.
I'll just take your
Mr.
word for
Polar
it.
Express. Oh, my Desert Island film. The Princess Bride.
Oh, that's a good one. Me and Emma watched that like a week, like last week.
Abigail refuses to watch it, and I'm so mad.
Why?
I literally just watched. I watched it just the other night on Hulu. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was on Hulu. I watched it. I was like, oh my god, I love this. I forgot how much I love this movie. And then I was like, Abigail, you want to watch it? She's like, you just watch it. I was like, I don't care. I'll literally watch it right now. Have you seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah,
You know Jordan Belfort's dad in the movie, the bald guy with the beard.
more or less. I haven't seen it in probably 4 years, but I think I know what
Oh,
you're talking
well,
about.
that's Rob Reiner, the director of Princess Bride.
Oh,
You ever
nice
seen
little
New Girl?
cameo. Yeah, I've seen a few episodes here and there.
Oh, have you ever seen Jess's dad?
Probably
Well,
not.
that's Rob Reiner.
Okay.
He doesn't really direct anymore, but he
Hmm.
directed a bunch of classics. This is Spinal Tap. That's a great film.
I've heard a lot of good
You
things
would
about
like
it.
that. You would like that movie
I'll have to
when
give it a
Harry Met
try.
Sally.
My family loves that movie.
All right.
We want to give some recommendations before we sign off and choose the next film. You got anything to recommend? We didn't do that at the beginning, so I figure we could knock that out real quick. Fill some
I've
time.
really been slacking on watching anything. Hold on. Have I watched anything?
I'll give my rec while you're looking. I would recommend watching Smiling Friends on HBO Max. It's created by two wonderful YouTubers, Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack. Um, it's an animated show. You could watch it in like an hour and a half. It's 11-minute episodes. It's like adult animation with a lot of internet humor. So, Zach and I are 23, and I think it really appeals to an audience around our age. And I don't want to spoil anything about it. It's just pretty wacky and zany, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
All right. I didn't just watch this, but The Way Back. It's on HBO. I think it still is. It is the coming of age summer's tale of a kid that has to go to like Cape Cod or something like that
Mm.
for over the summer. We get Steve Carell as a villain.
Really?
Not a villain, just like a douche. He plays the stepdad.
Is he the one I've seen? I think I may have seen a clip from this, and maybe a different film entirely. But is there a scene in this film where Steve Carell is like, "You can't be a pilot if you're colorblind"? Or is that from something else? That may be from something
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've
When
seen.
they're in the car.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's the one clip I've seen from
Yeah.
this film.
But it's about this kid that's forced to go on this vacation that he doesn't want to go on. And then he gets a job at the local water park. And then I guess the manager, played by Sam Rockwell, like basically starts mentoring him.
Well, I'll have to
Good heartfelt film.
plop Emma on the
And
couch and.
it's an easy watch too. So what film are you picking for next episode?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I when I had my little brain fart earlier, I was looking through my letterboxd at films that I had gone through and watched, looking for something that caught my eye, and I found another one of my favorites. Probably easy top 10,
The
probable
Uncharted
top.
movie.
I wish I haven't seen it yet, but it'll be there. It'll probably be number 2 or number 1. No, this is a top 5 film for me. It's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I get to force Abigail to watch it. She refuses to watch it.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna force
It's
Emma to
a
watch it
wrap.
too.
She won't watch it. I'll have to watch it by myself, but
Same, probably. So
it's whatever.
it is what it is.
It is what it is, my boy.
Well,
All right.
I'll take us out if you want.
Yeah, take us out.
All right.
Oh, wait. We got to plug our socials. Follow us on YouTube at The Close Screening.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter at Close Screening.
Mm-hmm.
Follow our letterboxes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your letterbox?
I think it's... I can say it, no one will be able to find it because my last name is so hard to spell. It's Chase Mahan. That's Maughon. Chase, exactly how you spell it. No spaces, no underscores, no nothing.
And I'm Zac_Chastain.
All right. Well...
And don't forget to play your daily Wordle.
Of course.
Are you playing Wordle?
I am. I haven't played today. I think I missed yesterday as well.
It was pretty good one. Pretty good one today.
That could mean so many different things. Anyway,
got it in 4 today.
Nice.
Little ashamed of myself.
That's all right. I normally get it in 3 or 4.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see. I guess we're doing every other week now, right?
Yep. So this one will come out
next Monday.
It'll come out February 21st when this drops. We're recording on February 13th for anyone who cares. So next time we see you, it'll be March 7th, I guess. So thank you guys very much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Hit that MF and subscribe and that MF and bell.
The notification bell. Leave a like,
comment. If you dislike, only we'll be able to see it. So you're really only hurting us if you do that. If that's your goal, fuck you, I guess. For Zach and I try to do like a radio outro or a show outro. For Zachary, I'm Chase. Thank you very much for watching the Closed Screening podcast. And thanks for listening, I guess. I don't know. Outros are stupid. Yeah. Thanks for listening to the... Let me do this little thing I wanted. It's a little bit that I was trying to run. I couldn't find a way to weasel it in, so I'm going to throw it in here now. Thank you for listening to the only podcast that will never have a guest on who has an NFT profile picture, unironically. See you guys next week.
I have an NFT.